The first thing that strikes you about the Congo is not the towering trees or the cries of unseen beasts. It's the suffocation. Before your eyes can adjust to the emerald chaos, or your ears can untangle the jungle's deafening orchestra, your lungs already feel the weight of 1,000 storms. Here, the air itself is a living thing, thick with humidity so fierce it clings to your skin like a wet shroud. Rain doesn't simply fall in the Congo. It crashes down in relentless sheets, hammering leaves and soil with the fury of an ocean storm trapped on land. Every droplet carries the weight of the sky, and together they conspire to drown the forest in a perpetual cascade, soaking every living thing until even the birds seem to drip with exhaustion. For the uninitiated, it feels less like weather and more like a slow-motion flood, as if the entire jungle is trying to dissolve you into its depths. Above your head, the canopy rises like the vaulted ceiling of an ancient cathedral, stitched together by tangled branches and colossal leaves that have seen centuries come and go. Sunlight, bold and bright in the open, arrives here as little more than a whisper. By the time it filters through the dense green ceiling, it becomes a weary golden mist, fractured into 1,000 muted rays. This dim light plays tricks on the mind, casting moving shadows where none exist and hiding predators in plain sight. The Congo does not simply obscure danger. It invites you to doubt your senses, to second-guess every step and every sound. Out here, paranoia is not a flaw, it's survival. And yet there is a brutal beauty in this wild tangle of life. The sheer abundance of creatures seems impossible, as though every inch of space is claimed by something that crawls, slithers, flies, or bites. Vines creep like serpents over the trunks of ancient giants, their grasping tendrils pulling down even the mightiest trees in a slow-motion struggle for sunlight. Insects rule the understory in their billions, a relentless tide of wings and legs and mandibles, each one playing its role in the great mechanical heart of the forest. Ants build highways across the forest floor. Highways so busy and efficient they'd make any human engineer jealous, while termites construct towers taller than a man, sculpted castles of mud in miniature. Above, troops of monkeys swing effortlessly from branch to branch, their howls echoing like wild laughter across the jungle's green vaults. But make no mistake, this place is no paradise. The Congo may dazzle with its vibrance, but beneath its emerald mask lies a predator that never sleeps. In this jungle, death is not an occasional visitor, but a permanent resident, stalking every clearing and every shadow. The native tribes, with wisdom carved from generations of survival, speak of the forest as a living hunter. Here, they say, their voices low and knowing. The jungle doesn't just hide predators, it is the predator. It's an unsettling thought, but one you'll come to understand the longer you spend within these walls of green. The jungle devours the careless and the cocky with the same quiet efficiency as its sharp-toothed inhabitants. Take a step off the faintest trail, and you are immediately swallowed whole by the foliage. Paths here vanish behind you as though erased by an unseen hand. The forest is a master of deception, a labyrinth of towering trunks and snaking undergrowth that confounds even the sharpest of eyes. Direction becomes a laughable concept when the view in every direction is identical, a claustrophobic maze of green, brown, and shadow. Even seasoned trackers, those who know the language of broken twigs and disturbed soil, can lose their way under the ever-shifting tapestry of leaves and lianas. And in this disorienting warren, the predators thrive. Stealth is the currency of survival, and every creature here spends it with ruthless precision. The leopard, the jungle's phantom, slips through the undergrowth like liquid shadow, its rosettes dissolving into the dappled light. Crocodiles lurk in muddy waters, motionless as logs until they explode in a violent rush of teeth and muscle. Snakes, some no thicker than a rope, dangle from branches above, ready to strike downwards at anything that dares to disturb their silent vigil. Even the insects are not innocent in this game of life and death. Assassin bugs and venomous spiders turn the undergrowth into a gauntlet of hidden fangs. What's worse, the Congo's dangers do not end when the sun dips below the horizon. Nightfall transforms the forest into an even darker abyss, where every sound is amplified and every rustle carries the weight of menace. Eyes gleam in the blackness, reflecting the light of your feeble torch like distant stars. Something is always watching. Nocturnal hunters emerge from their hiding places, emboldened by the cover of night. Bats swoop low, snatching insects from the air, while owls glide silently in pursuit of rodents darting through the leaf litter. And then there are the things you cannot see. parasites, mosquitoes, and microscopic terrors that invade your body without you ever noticing. Despite all this, life not only endures in the Congo, it flourishes with a defiant, almost reckless abundance. It is as though the jungle, aware of its own lethal nature, compensates with sheer vitality. Flowers explode in bursts of color, vivid reds and yellows that seem almost absurd against the monotone greens. Birds of astonishing plumage flit between branches, their calls adding strange melodies to the jungle's constant percussion. Even the predators, fearsome as they are, exist within a delicate balance, a dance of survival choreographed over millennia. There is an old truth about the Congo, one that visitors often learn too late. To conquer the jungle is to misunderstand it entirely. Survival here does not come from dominance, but from respect, from recognizing the forest not as an adversary to be defeated, but as a force to be outwitted. The jungle is ancient and patient, its traps set not by malice but by nature's cold indifference. It does not seek your death. It simply does not care about your survival. As the rain drums its endless rhythm on the canopy above, and the scent of wet earth fills your nostrils, you begin to understand the true nature of this place. The Congo is not merely a setting for adventure, it is the adventure itself, a living labyrinth where every path leads deeper into the unknown. Here, life and death entwine like the very vines that choke the trees, inseparable and inevitable. And as you take your first cautious steps into this emerald abyss, remember, you are not an explorer in the Congo. You are its guest, and not necessarily a welcome one. In the depths of the Congo jungle, where the canopy seals off the sky and the forest floor is a mosaic of shadows and whispers, there moves a predator so silent, it might as well be made of mist. Leopards of the Congo are not mere hunters, they are phantoms, drifting unseen through thickets dense enough to swallow a man whole. Even the jungle itself seems to yield to them, parting softly to allow their passage, as if the foliage fears to rustle and betray their presence. Out here, where everything breathes in the rhythm of survival, the leopard dances to a beat of its own, one that spells death for anything caught off guard. Unlike their savanna cousins, these leopards are creatures of darkness and density. The open plains reward speed and spectacle, but the Congo rewards silence, stealth, and shadows. Their coats, dappled with rosettes that mimic the fractured sunlight filtering through the leaves, are masterpieces of camouflage. In this green cathedral of life, they vanish before your eyes, absorbed by the forest's mottled patterns. It is said by those who have lived longest on the edges of this abyss that you never see the leopard in the Congo. You only feel it. And by then, of course, it is already far too late. The way they hunt is less an act of aggression and more a ritual of perfection. Patient beyond belief, the Congo leopard will stalk its prey for hours, moving no more than a whisper on the wind. Muscles coiled like springs, paws falling with such precision that not a single twig snaps beneath their weight. They close the gap between predator and prey with agonizing slowness. Their breath is shallow, controlled, every sense sharpened to a razor's edge. And when the moment comes, that single, exquisite second, when distance collapses and hesitation would mean hunger, they erupt from concealment with explosive force, an amber-eyed specter unleashed. Prey barely has time to register the rustle of leaves before claws dig into flesh and powerful jaws clamp down with merciless precision. A heartbeat later, it is done. The forest settles once more, as if nothing had happened, as if the drama of life and death was just another note in its endless symphony. Yet beyond their physical prowess, leopards in the Congo carry with them a weight far heavier than their sinewy frames suggest. The weight of legend. In Congolese folklore, they are not merely animals but supernatural entities cloaked in fur. Shapeshifters, demon cats, beings that cross the veil between the physical world and the realm of spirits with chilling ease. There are tales whispered under smoky village skies, of men who vanish into the jungle and return with the eyes of leopards, cursed to stalk their fellow humans under the cover of night. Some say these creatures are guardians of forbidden paths. Others claim they are vengeful souls, condemned to hunt endlessly beneath the dripping boughs. It is a belief so deeply ingrained that even the bravest hunters tread carefully when they sense the presence of the spotted spectre. Not out of mere fear of claws and teeth, but from dread of something older and more unsettling. The idea that the leopard is not just flesh and blood, but a shadowy envoy from realms unknown. Even the village drums fall silent when a leopard's growl echoes from the gloom, as if the forest itself pauses to pay respect to one of its most lethal children. But this isn't merely folklore spun to entertain or frighten. There are stories chillingly real of ambushes that seem to defy explanation. One elder recounted the tale of a young man who ventured too far from his village at dusk, lured by the promise of a shortcut through the undergrowth. He never saw the leopard until it was upon him, descending from a branch with such silence and force that even the birds remained still. Only the aftermath, torn earth, splintered foliage, and the ominous absence of any traceable footprints bore witness to the phantom assault. The villagers, upon discovering the scene, didn't speak of it as an animal attack. No, they spoke in hushed tones of a spirit reclaiming its due, of jungle justice delivered by claw and fang. What makes the Congo leopard especially fearsome is not just its skill in the hunt, but its unparalleled adaptability. Few predators in the world can match its ability to thrive in such a variety of environments. Whether threading silently through the twisted vines of the lowland rainforest or prowling the misty montane forests higher up, the leopard adjusts its tactics with uncanny intelligence. Its diet is just as versatile. Duikers, monkeys, rodents, birds, even fish plucked from streams with deft swipes of the paw. It is this culinary flexibility that keeps the leopard ever present, ever dangerous, and eternally elusive. Unlike lions, which rely on the strength of numbers, or cheetahs, which trade stealth for speed, the leopard is a solitary assassin. It does not need a pride to secure its kill, nor does it demand the wide-open plains for a chase. Its kingdom is the labyrinth of roots and thorns, its throne perched high in the crook of a towering fig tree. Here it hoists its kills far above the reach of scavengers, a grim pantry of antelope and primates left to dangle in the humid air. From such heights, the leopard surveys its dominion with unblinking eyes, patient and poised, always ready for the next hunt. And if there is a lesson for us here, it is this. In the Congo, the deadliest threats are not those that roar the loudest or flash their weapons in the daylight. The most dangerous killers are the ones you never see coming, the ones that blend seamlessly into the tapestry of life until they emerge without warning from the fabric of the forest itself. The leopard does not need to announce its presence. It allows the jungle to mask its approach, becoming an extension of the very shadows that cradle it. As you walk the Congo paths, you might catch a fleeting glimpse of golden eyes between the foliage, or sense the fleeting brush of something soft against your arm, gone before you can react. You may hear nothing at all, only to feel the hairs on your neck rise in instinctive alarm. Trust those feelings. Out here, your senses are your only warning system, and even they are often too slow. Because in this green abyss, the leopard is always closer than you think, its presence stitched into the shadows themselves. And so the legend of the Congo leopard endures, a ghostly predator, a living myth, a master of the shadows. It is the jungle's silent enforcer, the whisper of death in the thicket, the eyes you feel but never meet. In the theater of survival, it plays its part to chilling perfection, and the curtain never truly falls. There is a particular kind of fear that belongs only to the rivers of the Congo. It is not the fear of slipping beneath the surface, nor of the unseen depths swallowing you whole, though those terrors are real enough. It is deeper than that, older, stitched into the human spine by millions of years of survival instinct. It is the fear of the predator that waits, ancient and unblinking, beneath the silted currents, the crocodile. These are not mere reptiles. They are living fossils, teeth and muscles sculpted by time itself, predating even the jungles they now haunt. And here in the Congo, they do not merely inhabit the waterways, they rule them with iron jaws. The Congo River, twisting like a great muddy serpent through the heart of Africa, is a lifeline for countless species. It feeds the jungle, cradles villages along its banks, and pulses with a dark vitality that keeps this green world alive. But beneath its deceptively calm surface, the river is a kingdom of shadows and silence, where crocodiles drift with the sluggish grace of driftwood, until the moment comes to explode into lethal motion. They patrol the waterways like ghostly sentinels, their scaly backs disguised as part of the debris floating downstream. In this murky theater, they are both the actors and the stage, performers in a grim play where the audience never survives to see the final act. What makes these river monsters especially terrifying is their patience. Crocodiles do not hunt with reckless abandon. They do not chase. They do not panic. They wait, and they watch. With eyes and nostrils positioned atop their heads, they remain almost entirely submerged, observing the world above, while their colossal bulk stays hidden beneath the current. Time for the crocodile is a weapon as sharp as its teeth. Minutes stretch into hours as they lie in ambush, motionless, enduring the heat and hunger with predatory discipline that borders on the supernatural. And when the moment finally arrives, when a gazelle, a fisherman, or a careless creature dips just a little too far into their liquid lair, they unleash a strike so violent, so precise, it seems to defy the very laws of nature. The attack comes without warning. 1 second, the river is a mirror of tranquility. The next, it erupts in an explosion of water, muscle, and primal ferocity. Jaws snap shut with bone-crushing force, exerting pressures that would reduce steel to splinters. There is no struggle. There is no fight. The victim is dragged beneath the surface in a horrifying display of raw power, vanishing beneath clouds of silt and blood. Down in the depths, the crocodile performs its grisly signature move, the death roll. Spinning with brutal efficiency, it tears flesh from bone, dismantling its prey with mechanical precision. And when the meal is over, the crocodile resumes its vigil, slipping back into the current as though it had never moved at all. For the people who call the Congo home, crocodiles are not just predators. They are demons given flesh. Local legends speak of Mbulu Ngulu, guardian spirits of the river, said to take the form of monstrous crocodiles with scales as hard as iron and eyes that burn with the fire of ancient anger. Elders tell stories of canoes dragged under by unseen forces, of villagers disappearing while fetching water, snatched by invisible jaws in broad daylight. It is believed by many that to disrespect the river is to invite the wrath of its custodians, to offer yourself as a sacrifice to these living relics of a prehistoric world. And who could blame them for believing such things? The evidence, after all, is written in scars and sorrow. Take the tale of a fisherman known simply as Moke, a man whose life was bound to the river's rhythms. He had fished these waters since boyhood, mastering their moods and knowing where to cast his net and when to respect the current's hidden moods. But one morning, under a sun heavy with heat and promise, Moke pushed his luck. Venturing too close to a deep eddy, the kind locals avoided with quiet superstition, he leaned over to free his tangled net. In that instant, the water shattered, and a force of unimaginable strength yanked him from the boat. His companions could only watch in horror as the river swallowed him whole, leaving behind a whirlpool and a chilling silence that seemed to mock their helplessness. Moke's story is not unique. Crocodile attacks are woven into the daily reality of life along the Congo, a brutal reminder that the river gives but also takes, without hesitation or mercy. Entire villages have rituals to appease the river spirits, offerings of grain and prayers cast upon the current to beg for safe passage and plentiful catches. Some speak of special charms, carved from bone or ivory, said to repel the crocodile's gaze. Yet even these talismans are carried with a nervous grip, for deep down, everyone knows the truth. No charm can outwit an ambush that comes from below, from the darkness where eyes gleam like lanterns and hunger never sleeps. But it is not only humans who suffer beneath the crocodile's reign. The river's creatures, from plump fish to careless antelopes, all dance to the rhythm of predation. During the dry season, when watering holes shrink and desperate animals congregate along the muddy banks, crocodiles enter a frenzy of opportunity. Herds of buffalo, monkeys clambering down for a drink, even hippos too young or too slow to escape, all risk becoming unwilling participants in the crocodile's brutal banquet. And as if nature had a taste for dark humor, it is often in these moments of communal thirst that the river, pretending to be a friend, reveals its true fangs. What makes the crocodile particularly haunting is its ancient lineage. These creatures have changed so little over the eons that they might as well be time travelers, reminders of an age when giants ruled the earth and survival was a daily bloody test. With brains wired for ambush and bodies built like armored tanks, they have outlasted countless rivals, natural disasters, and even the great extinction events that reshaped the planet. While humans built cities and empires, the crocodile remained in its kingdom of mud and reeds, perfecting its craft without the need for evolution's tinkering. It is this terrifying efficiency that earns them not just our fear, but our reluctant admiration. As the sun sinks behind the tangled silhouette of the jungle, casting long shadows across the restless river, the crocodiles begin to stir once more. The temperature cools, and with it, the sluggish facade of daylight fades away. Night belongs to them. In the darkness, they move with renewed energy, silent and unseen beneath the surface, awaiting the next careless splash, the next ripple of life on the water. And so the cycle continues, as it has for millennia. a ceaseless rhythm of hunt and hunger beneath the blood-brown waters of the Congo. To the untrained eye, the Congo River is a place of life, and it is. But beneath its life teems death in its most patient, perfect form. The crocodile does not rage or roar. It waits, content in its supremacy, knowing that in the end all things must come to the water. And when they do, they are met not by a beast of flesh and bone, but by the living embodiment of the river's ancient hunger. It is not just a predator, it is the river itself, with teeth. As the sun sinks behind the jungle's restless horizon, and the Congo slips beneath its velvet shroud of night, the real assassins of the forest awaken. Unlike the thunderous charge of buffalo or the explosive ambush of crocodiles, these killers operate in a realm of subtlety. They are the masters of patience, armed not with brute strength, but with an invisible arsenal so potent that even the mightiest predators give them a wide berth. Here in the Congo, venom is not just a defense mechanism. It is an art form, honed by millennia of evolutionary trial and error. And as the jungle exhales into darkness, its venomous craftsmen take to the stage. The boomslang, for instance, is a creature that defies its almost comical name with a deadly reputation. Draped elegantly along the branches of dense trees, its emerald green scales blend seamlessly with the foliage, giving it the perfect camouflage to lurk unseen above the forest floor. Despite its beauty, the boomslang carries within its slender frame a weapon of horrifying efficiency. Its venom is hemotoxic, meaning it targets the very lifeblood of its prey, rupturing blood vessels and causing catastrophic internal bleeding. Victims of a boomslang bite might not even feel the immediate effects, a cruel twist of fate that allows them to believe they have escaped, until hours later, when the slow, merciless venom tightens its grip. In the Congo, where medical help is often days away, this delayed death sentence is particularly unforgiving. But if the boomslang is the jungle's patient sniper, then the gaboon viper is its living landmine. Broad, squat, and almost absurdly camouflaged beneath a tapestry of leaf litter, this snake is the embodiment of stillness. It doesn't slither in pursuit of prey, nor does it advertise its presence with warning colors or aggressive postures. It simply lies in wait, like a coiled secret, trusting that some unsuspecting creature will come blundering too close. And when that moment arrives, the gaboon viper delivers one of the fastest strikes in the natural world, deploying fangs longer than any other snakes. Daggers capable of injecting a lethal dose of cytotoxic venom that destroys tissue, causes swelling beyond recognition, and leads to rapid systemic failure. There is something grimly impressive about its precision, as if nature itself decided to place all its venomous bets on this one immobile yet deadly predator. The Congo does not limit its venomous prowess to serpents alone. Hidden in the cracks of bark, beneath stones slick with moss, and inside tangled webs that catch more than just flies, the spiders of this jungle are silent architects of doom. The Congo's forest floor and treetops are haunted by species such as the formidable baboon spider, a tarantula of formidable size and unnerving temperament. Though their venom might not rival the snakes in deadliness to humans, for their insect and small vertebrate prey, it is a ticket straight to paralysis and a slow, liquefying demise. These spiders don't kill by brute force, but by chemical alchemy, injecting enzymes that transform their victims into a digestible soup. It is a grotesque strategy, but in the merciless economy of the jungle, efficiency trumps morality every time. Nightfall amplifies the menace of these venomous artisans. As the diurnal creatures retreat into burrows and nests, a new orchestra begins to play. One composed of the rustle of scales against bark, the almost imperceptible click of spider fangs, the subtle shift of leaves under unseen weight. Venomous hunters thrive in the dark, using their finely tuned senses to navigate a world where vision alone cannot ensure survival. Heat-sensitive pits in snakes detect the body warmth of passing prey, a sixth sense that turns the pitch-black night into a map of living targets. Spiders, blind to light's absence, rely on vibrations transmitted through their webs or the forest floor, feeling the tremors of nearby victims with astonishing clarity. For those who live beside this venom vault, survival depends not only on vigilance, but on ancient knowledge passed down through generations. The tribes of the Congo have learned to read the jungle's subtle cues with the precision of scholars. A sudden hush in the nocturnal chorus, an unexplained movement in the canopy, a lingering scent on the humid breeze. All are signals that death might be near. Remedies born of deep-rooted tradition offer some hope against the jungle's chemical killers. Poultices made from the bark of specific trees, said to draw venom from wounds, or infusions of certain roots believed to slow the spread of toxins through the bloodstream. Whether these remedies work is often a matter of debate, blurred by the fog of superstition and survival desperation. Yet in the absence of modern medicine, they remain vital lifelines, rituals of resistance against an indifferent wilderness. Equally fascinating are the superstitions that accompany these remedies. Some tribes believe that certain chants or talismans carved from bone can shield a person from snakebite, or that wearing the shed skin of a python offers protection against all serpents. There is a belief, too, that dreams of snakes foretell encounters with real ones, serving as nocturnal warnings from the spirit world. In a place where the line between the natural and supernatural blurs beneath the canopy, such convictions are not taken lightly. Fear here is not irrational. It is a survival strategy dressed in the clothes of mythology. And yet, for all their fearsome reputation, these venomous creatures play a crucial role in the jungle's complex ballet. They are the keepers of balance, preventing plagues of rodents and controlling populations of smaller animals that might otherwise overrun the ecosystem. Without them, the delicate scales of life and death would tip into chaos, a fact that adds a strange, almost grudging respect to the fear they inspire. Even the most hardened villager who has lost kin to the silent killers of the night will acknowledge their place in the grand design. The jungle, they say, is not cruel. It is precise. As dawn's first light begins to filter through the mist, illuminating the jungle in soft hues of gold and green, the venomous assassins of the night retreat to their hiding places. Snakes coil beneath fallen logs, spiders shrink back into their silken lairs, and the jungle exhales once more, as if relieved to survive another night. But the memory of their presence lingers, a chilling reminder that even in daylight, danger is never truly gone. It merely slumbers, coiled and waiting for the inevitable fall of dusk. In the Congo, the venom vault never closes. It simply waits, patient as ever, for its next unwitting visitor. And as the cycle continues, the jungle remains what it has always been, a masterpiece of beauty and terror, where death wears many faces, some scaled, some fanged, and all painted in the invisible ink of poison. Deep in the tangled arteries of the Congo basin, where the rivers move like coiled serpents, and the canopy smothers the sky in a thick emerald quilt, whispers of ancient beasts refuse to fade. They drift on the humid air like old songs, clinging to the minds of those who dare to live on the jungle's edge. In this realm where scientific certainty grapples daily with the mysteries of the unknown, the line between legend and reality blurs like the mist curling over swampy waters. Here, stories of monsters are not confined to the fireside. They are etched into the very landscape, breathed into the shadows, and stamped into the muddy banks by footprints too large for comfort. Among these legends, none is more tantalizing than the tale of Mokele Mbembe, the fabled one who stops the flow of rivers. Described by those who claim to have seen it as a creature straight out of prehistory, Mokele Mbembe stirs imaginations with its towering neck, bulky frame and sweeping tail, reminiscent of a sauropod dinosaur. It is said to lurk in the remotest lagoons and swamps of the Congo, a ghost of the Jurassic era cloaked in mud and mystery. Sightings, though rare and often contested, persist like the pulse of the jungle itself, defying both scientific dismissal and time's relentless erosion. The appeal of Mokele Mbembe is irresistible, not just because it invites the hope that dinosaurs might yet walk the earth, but because it embodies the very spirit of the Congo, a place where the impossible feels just plausible enough. Explorers have ventured deep into the jungle's fevered heart in pursuit of this cryptid, armed with everything from sonar equipment to hand-drawn maps passed down through generations. They have braved quicksand, swarming insects, and the omnipresent risk of disappearing into the green oblivion, all for a chance at glimpsing this living relic. Yet, like a dream half remembered upon waking, Mokele Mbembe remains stubbornly elusive, forever just beyond the reach of our cameras and cages. What fuels these persistent tales is not just the allure of the unknown, but also the remarkable biodiversity of the Congo itself. The forest has a talent for hiding giants. Even today, species thought long extinct or undiscovered are routinely plucked from obscurity within its labyrinthine folds. The okapi, once dismissed as local myth, emerged from the shadows in the early 20th century to reveal itself as a real-life forest giraffe. If such creatures can slip beneath the radar of modern science, why not Mokele-mbembe? The swamps and rivers of the Congo are vast, murky worlds unto themselves, riddled with unexplored tributaries and caverns carved by water and time. In such places, reality has room to play hide-and-seek with myth. But Mokele-mbembe is not the jungle's only phantom heavyweight. Looming alongside the sauropod legend is another figure, equally shrouded in mist and marvel, the gorilla. Yet where Mokele-mbembe is a whisper from the distant past, the gorilla is very much alive, thumping its chest in defiance of extinction. And it is here that the story takes an almost cinematic twist, for in the imagination of the world, the gorilla has been cast as the jungle's King Kong, a colossal brute, fierce and unconquerable, ruler of a forgotten kingdom. It is a comparison both unfair and oddly fitting. The real gorillas of the Congo are not rampaging skyscraper climbers, but complex, deeply intelligent creatures. Silverbacks, the commanding males of their groups, carry an air of quiet authority, leading their families through the jungle with a blend of power and tenderness. Their strength is undeniable. A single swipe from a gorilla's arm carries the force to shatter bones, yet they rarely wield it without cause. Far from mindless monsters, they live rich social lives, communicating through a sophisticated language of gestures, grunts, and chest beats that echo through the forest like tribal drums. Still, there is no denying that to encounter a gorilla in its domain is to feel a primordial shiver down the spine. Their sheer presence, the way they move with effortless dominance through the undergrowth, is a reminder that we too are animals, creatures that once shared this green cathedral before we built walls to keep the wild at bay. And perhaps it is this buried memory, this ancient kinship, that breathes life into the myths of jungle giants. The gorilla becomes our living King Kong, not because it is a monster, but because it is a mirror held up to our own forgotten wildness. Of course, not all encounters with these creatures end in cinematic wonder. There are stories, rarely spoken but never forgotten, of gorillas defending their territory with terrifying resolve. One account tells of a group of poachers who underestimated the resolve of a silverback protecting his family. What they expected to be an easy raid ended in chaos, as the enraged guardian charged with a roar that seemed to shake the earth itself. Tools and weapons were abandoned in panic, and the men fled into the jungle, pursued by an unstoppable force of nature. They lived to tell the tale, but their terror was palpable, and their respect for the jungle's true king had been permanently, painfully seared into their memories. The parallels between these real-life titans and their mythical counterparts weave a tapestry that is impossible to ignore. King Kong, the cinematic giant, is a fantasy born from fragments of truth, from creatures like the Congo gorilla, from whispered legends of beasts lost to time, from our own human fear of nature's untamed power. And in the depths of the Congo, where shadows play tricks and the jungle guards its secrets jealously, these stories converge in a symphony of wonder and dread. What science sees as implausible, the jungle presents with a sly grin, as if daring us to doubt its capacity for surprise. Even skeptical biologists, armed with data and discipline, admit a begrudging awe for the Congo's ability to sustain mystery. And so they keep searching, because somewhere between the rustle of leaves and the ripple of black water, between the silverback stare and the dream of Mokele-mbembe, lies the tantalizing possibility that not all monsters are make-believe. In the end, whether these giants of legend are flesh and blood or figments of fear and fascination, matters less than the enduring power of the stories themselves. The Congo thrives on these tales, weaving them into its endless song, a melody where fact and folklore dance in seamless harmony. As explorers and dreamers continue to push deeper into the jungle's heart, they do so with the understanding that in the Congo, reality itself is elastic. The jungle does not distinguish between what is and what might be. It simply exists, vast and unyielding, cradling its secrets in roots and rivers, daring the world to discover them or to imagine them forever. In the colossal theater of the Congo, where elephants crash through the undergrowth and leopards melt into the shadows, it is tempting to believe that size dictates power. But those who have truly known this jungle, who have felt its pulse at night and watched its endless churn of life and death, will tell you a different, far more unsettling truth. Out here, it is not the size of the predator that commands respect. It is the number. When the swarm awakens, the balance of power shifts violently, and even the fiercest creatures of the forest step aside. In the relentless march of army ants and the furious storm of killer bees, The jungle reveals one of its most terrifying faces, the rule of the many over the mighty. Army ants, or as they are sometimes ominously called, driver ants, do not simply hunt. They consume, obliterate, and erase. These insects move as a living river, flowing over roots and stones, cascading into burrows and nests, flushing out everything that breathes in their path. Each individual ant is a minuscule, unimpressive speck of life, but together they form an unstoppable force, a marching front of jaws and venom that dismantles the jungle piece by struggling piece. At their peak, a single colony can number up to 20 million individuals, an incomprehensible tide of hunger surging forward with deadly precision. To witness their advance is to witness a lesson in inevitability. They swarm over the ground like spilled ink, a dark smear of purpose, swallowing beetles, spiders, scorpions, even small vertebrates. There are stories, far too many to dismiss as mere campfire tales, of chicks in their nests, frogs crouched motionless in the leaf litter, and even young snakes caught in the tide, stripped to the bone in less than an hour. They work with mechanical coordination, using their mandibles not just as weapons, but as tools, slicing and dismantling their prey in a frenzy of efficiency. Flesh, muscle, and sinew are carved away with terrifying speed, leaving behind nothing but gleaming skeletons polished by thousands of tiny jaws. Even the apex predators of the Congo, the kings and queens of fang and claw, hold a deep, instinctive respect for the army ants. Lions and leopards, those masters of the ambush, will abandon a kill if they sense the oncoming surge of ants. Monkeys watching from the trees grow restless as the swarm ascends, understanding well that even their nimbleness offers little refuge if the ants decide to climb. The jungle knows nothing stops the march, and so it clears a path in silent deference to this creeping empire of hunger. But if the army ants are the jungle's creeping storm, then the killer bees are its aerial blitzkrieg. These bees, technically Africanized honeybees, have earned their fearsome reputation not through the potency of their individual sting, but through their sheer aggression and numbers. Disturb their hive, even by accident, and you trigger a defense so disproportionate it borders on madness. Thousands of bees erupt from the comb like sparks from a fire, each one driven by a singular suicidal mission to protect the colony. They pursue threats far beyond their immediate territory, a relentless, buzzing fury that will not be denied. Their venom is potent enough to cause intense pain, swelling, and in some cases, deadly allergic reactions. But it is not the venom alone that makes them fearsome. It is the way they coordinate their attack, marking intruders with pheromones so that every member of the hive knows the target. Victims of bee swarms often recount the eerie sensation of becoming the very center of a living storm, every bee drawn to them as if pulled by an invisible thread. In the Congo, where medical help is often a world away, even the toughest jungle dwellers recognize the ominous warning hum of bees with deep and abiding respect. Tales of human encounters with these swarming armies are told in hushed tones, often with a grim shake of the head. One such story speaks of a farmer tending to his crops on a particularly humid afternoon, unaware that the vibrations from his machete were disturbing a nearby hive nestled in the hollow of an old tree. Within seconds, the sky seemed to darken as bees poured out in a boiling cloud of rage. He ran, of course, anyone would. But the bees chased him for over half a mile, stinging mercilessly until he plunged into a river to escape their wrath. His swollen face and arms were a brutal lesson carved by the jungle's tiny sentinels. Respect the swarm, or suffer its fury. And then there are those encounters with the army ants, where entire human dwellings have been invaded in the dead of night. Villages, particularly those with structures built close to the ground, sometimes find themselves at the mercy of a nocturnal march. Children are snatched from their sleep by frantic parents, livestock driven from pens in a cacophony of alarm. In some cases, the villagers abandon their homes entirely, allowing the ants to pass through and clean house with merciless thoroughness. By morning, the swarm is gone, having devoured every scrap of edible life in its path, leaving behind only silence and the eerie sense that the jungle itself had risen to reclaim its due. What is perhaps most unsettling about these insect armies is their ability to appear almost from nowhere. One moment, the forest hums with its usual chorus of life. The next, the ground trembles beneath the passage of millions of marching legs, or the air vibrates with the furious beat of thousands of wings. They materialize like living storms, indifferent to size or strength, driven by the simple yet overwhelming mandate to feed and defend. And yet, for all their terror, these swarms are indispensable threads in the Congo's vast ecological tapestry. Army ants act as the jungle's grim recyclers, breaking down carrion and detritus that would otherwise fester and breed disease. Killer bees, for all their fury, play a critical role in pollination, sustaining the very flora that shelters and feeds countless species. In their fury lies function, in their chaos lies order. The jungle, it seems, balances beauty and brutality with effortless grace. As the sun rises and the nocturnal rampage subsides, the jungle breathes easier once more. The swarm, having fed or defended its brood, dissolves back into the fabric of the forest. What remains is a battlefield swept clean, a sobering reminder of nature's ruthless efficiency. For those who survive these encounters, respect for the swarm is not born of fear alone, but of awe. In the Congo, power wears many faces, some furred, some fanged, and others terrifyingly made of countless tiny bodies moving as one. The swarm does not roar or snarl. It does not ambush from the shadows or lurk beneath the river's surface. But make no mistake, it is one of the jungle's most perfect weapons, a tidal wave of life that devours and defends in equal measure. And as the day stretches forward and the jungle returns to its ceaseless pulse, there is an unspoken understanding among all its inhabitants. When the swarm comes, all bow before its march. In the grand, sprawling tapestry of the Congo, where the sun filters down in fractured beams and the jungle breathes like a living beast, it is easy to be dazzled by the headline, Predators. The muscular leopards, the ghostly crocodiles, the venomous masters of ambush, they tend to steal the show. But beneath this pantheon of expected killers moves a quieter, cleverer force. They are not loners lurking in shadows, nor are they solitary traps coiled in silence. No, these are the hunters who whisper to one another in the night, orchestrating symphonies of pursuit and precision. These are the jungle dogs and stealthy hyenas, the underdog predators of the Congo, who trade brawn for brains and rule not through fear alone, but through the sheer brilliance of cooperation. The African wild dog, sometimes called the painted wolf, is a creature of contradictions. Its coat is a patchwork of black, gold, and white, as if a careless artist had spilt their palette across its fur.
At a glance, it almost seems comical, as though nature had a moment of whimsy. But make no mistake, beneath this cheerful camouflage beats the heart of one of the most efficient hunters on the continent. In the dense corridors of the Congo, where visibility narrows to mere meters and every step risks ambush, these dogs have evolved into masters of organized chaos. They move with an eerie synchronicity, communicating in yips, chirps, and tail wags that to human ears seem almost playful. But there is nothing playful about what follows. When the pack hunts, it is less a chase and more a carefully choreographed performance. Each member knows their role intimately. Flankers spread wide, driving prey into the center, while others push from the rear with relentless pressure. They anticipate each other's movements with uncanny accuracy, as if connected by an invisible thread. The target, usually an antelope or small ungulate, finds itself funneled into a tightening noose, exhausted long before the final blow is delivered. Unlike ambush predators that rely on surprise, wild dogs weaponize endurance and teamwork, running their prey into the ground across terrain that would leave most other hunters breathless. What's more astonishing is the silent efficiency of their strategy. There are no thunderous roars or dramatic pounces. Instead, there is a chilling quietude, punctuated only by the soft footfalls of padded paws and the occasional rustle of disturbed undergrowth. Even their kills are swift and orderly, with each pack member taking its share without the squabbles that plague lion prides or hyena clans. It is this unity that allows them to thrive where others falter, turning the chaotic jungle into a battleground of precision. Yet wild dogs are not the only clever hunters weaving through the Congo's labyrinth. Lurking in the shadows, often misunderstood and underestimated, the hyenas of the forest are conducting their own silent campaigns of dominance. Stripped of the open savannas that their cousins patrol, these forest hyenas, smaller, darker, and infinitely more secretive, have adapted to the jungle's suffocating embrace with remarkable finesse. Unlike their plains relatives, they rely less on brute force and more on stealth, slinking through the foliage like shadows made flesh. Their communication is an eerie music of whoops, growls, and cackles that echo through the undergrowth, each sound layered with meaning. These vocalizations map the territory, warn off rivals, and summon clan members to opportunities or threats alike.
The jungle, dense as it is, may swallow sound, but the hyena's calls pierce through, a spectral chorus that keeps their scattered family bound together. Their coordination rivals even that of the wild dogs, and their tactics are equally ruthless. What makes these stealthy hyenas particularly formidable is their genius for opportunism. They are the tacticians of the jungle, reading the movements of larger predators and exploiting every weakness. When a leopard hauls its kill into the branches, hyenas wait below with grim patience, ready to claim whatever scraps rain down. When army ants flush small creatures from hiding, hyenas shadow the swarm like dark shepherds, snapping up the stragglers. They have been seen tailing wild dog packs at a respectful distance, sometimes even rushing in to snatch a prize in the chaotic aftermath of a hunt. In the relentless economy of the jungle, where energy spent must equal energy earned, the hyena is a master accountant. Even larger predators tread cautiously when these cunning scavengers appear. Leopards, proud and solitary, are known to abandon kills if a hyena clan arrives in force. Crocodiles, ferocious rulers of the rivers, grow wary when hyenas linger at the water's edge, sensing the danger of distraction. In this way, hyenas assert a dominance disproportionate to their size, wielding strategy as their sharpest weapon. They are not merely survivors of the Congo's ruthless theater, they are its calculating architects. Perhaps what is most extraordinary about both these predators is their sheer adaptability. The Congo is a world of perpetual change. Floods transform trails into swamps, droughts bake the earth into cracked mosaics, and prey species vanish as quickly as they appear. In this flux, brute strength is not enough. Intelligence, flexibility, and cooperation are the true currencies of survival. The wild dogs and hyenas of the Congo understand this implicitly. They adjust their hunting patterns with the seasons, shift their territories in response to competition, and teach their young not just how to kill, but how to think. For humans, encounters with these cunning predators are rare but unforgettable. Trackers tell of nights broken by the spectral laughter of hyenas, a sound so unnerving it feels as if the jungle itself were mocking them. Hunters speak of the disconcerting realization that they are being followed, not by a solitary beast, but by a coordinated pack of wild dogs, eyes gleaming with quiet calculation. Even seasoned guides admit a grudging respect for these animals, recognizing in their behavior a reflection of our own early evolutionary strategies: community, communication, and cleverness. As dawn stretches her golden fingers through the jungle's damp embrace, the packs and clans melt back into the foliage, their work for the night complete. The jungle falls quiet once more, but the memory of their passage lingers in the disturbed earth, the faint scent trails, and the half-eaten remains of their prey. They are ghosts in the greenery, living proof that in the Congo, survival favors not the strongest but the smartest, and the most united. Here, amid the towering trees and tangled roots, it is not the solo hunter who thrives, but the collective mind of the pack. Wild dogs and hyenas, often dismissed as scavengers and secondary predators, reveal themselves as kings and queens of jungle strategy, outwitting even the fiercest giants. They do not roar. They do not boast. They simply outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver, slipping between the shadows with silent mastery. In the Congo's endless game of life and death, they play not with brute force, but with brilliance. High above the forest floor, where the sunlight filters through layers of tangled leaves and the wind whispers tales of both birth and bloodshed, an unexpected predator watches from the emerald shadows. With faces so eerily expressive they seem to mirror our own forgotten past, Congo's chimpanzees survey their kingdom not with idle curiosity, but with the calculating focus of warriors. They are not the playful apes of children's cartoons, nor the gentle fruit pluckers of romanticized jungle tales. Beneath their fur and behind their sharp eyes lies a battlefield mind, a primal strategist capable of astonishing brutality and military precision. When these chimps go to war, they do so with the zeal of seasoned generals, and their enemies, whether monkey, antelope, or even fellow chimpanzee, feel the full weight of their ferocity. In the dense forests of the Congo, territory is everything. It defines not just survival, but dominance, legacy, and power. Chimpanzee troops do not simply inhabit their land, they patrol it like a sovereign nation guarding its borders. Bands of males, shoulders rolling with muscular confidence, move in deliberate silence through the trees. Their patrols are grim and focused, scanning for signs of intruders. A snapped twig, a fading scent mark, or the muffled rustle of enemy feet on the forest floor. These patrols are not idle wanderings but strategic movements, each step a calculation in an ongoing war for supremacy. When the patrol detects trespassers, it becomes a raiding party. What follows is a demonstration of terrifying coordination, a jungle ambush that rivals the tactics of any human military squad. They advance with stealth, using hand signals and subtle vocalizations to synchronize their assault. Some flank their targets, cutting off escape routes, while others wait in ambush above, poised to rain down chaos from the canopy. And when they strike, it is with unrelenting savagery. Cries echo through the jungle as the chimps descend like a storm, grabbing, biting and bludgeoning with sticks and stones. Their attacks are not merely about the kill, they are brutal declarations of dominance, bloody messages to any would-be challengers. Shockingly, their chosen prey is not limited to fruits or insects. These chimpanzees are carnivorous tacticians, turning their intelligence towards the hunt of fellow primates and small mammals with chilling efficiency. Monkeys, especially red colobus monkeys, are frequent targets. Hunted with a grim fervor, these agile primates scramble through the treetops in desperate bids for escape, only to be outmaneuvered by the chimp's superior coordination. Some chimps drive the quarry into ambushes, others block potential escape paths, and a few act as finishers, snatching the fleeing monkey in a final lethal grasp. Even small antelopes are not safe from these arboreal assassins. Ground-dwelling duikers, venturing too close to feeding chimpanzees, may find themselves the victims of surprise attacks. With bursts of terrifying speed, chimps drop from the trees or charge from the underbrush, wrestling the struggling prey to the ground. Once caught, the antelope is dispatched with grim determination, its flesh shared among the victors in a rare feast of meat that cements the social bonds of the troop. What makes these violent hunts even more fascinating and chilling is the way they serve more than just the biological imperative of hunger. Meat in chimpanzee society is currency. It buys favor, strengthens alliances, and cements hierarchies. Dominant males dole out morsels to loyal followers, reinforcing their power not through brute force alone, but through the ancient economy of shared spoils. These moments of feasting are not chaotic free-for-alls, but carefully managed distributions of power disguised as meals. Even the mighty leopard, the silent assassin of the Congo, treads cautiously where chimpanzees gather in number. Solitary by nature, the leopard understands well the risks of facing an angry troop. There are stories whispered by trackers of leopards driven from their kills by a swarm of howling, stick-wielding chimpanzees, their yellow eyes wide with something rare in their predatory world: fear. Leopards may rule the shadows of the forest, but they know better than to challenge an enemy that fights not as an individual, but as a unified force driven by purpose and rage. The brutality of chimpanzee warfare extends beyond hunting and into the realm of intergroup conflict. When two rival troops clash, the jungle becomes a battlefield of screams and violence. Skirmishes erupt with a ferocity that shocks even seasoned observers. Males attack with unrestrained aggression, biting and beating rivals until the forest floor is littered with blood and broken branches. Infants of opposing troops, tragically, are not spared. They are often targeted as future threats, eliminated in a grim calculus of genetic warfare. These battles, though brutal, are not mindless. They are waged for control of territory, for access to resources, and for the expansion of family lines. What unfolds in these leafy arenas is nothing less than warfare in its rawest, most primal form. Tactics, coordination, hierarchy, and ruthlessness blend into a deadly symphony that echoes eerily with the shadows of our own human past. Watching chimpanzees wage their campaigns is to peer through a looking glass darkly, glimpsing the ancient roots of strategy and combat that still pulse within our own species. Yet for all their ferocity, chimpanzees are creatures of paradox. The same hands that wield clubs in battle also groom their companions with delicate care. The same mouths that bite and tear in conflict also offer soft vocalizations of comfort and bonding. Their society, as brutal as it can be, is also built on affection, cooperation, and profound emotional depth. It is this complexity that makes them so hauntingly familiar, and their warfare so profoundly unsettling. As the jungle settles into dusk and the victorious chimps gather beneath the fading light, their cries gradually give way to quiet murmurs of reconciliation. Grooming circles form, bonds are reaffirmed, and the tension of the hunt or battle dissipates into the warm, humid air. They do not dwell on the violence of the day. They move forward, as all jungle creatures must, to survive another dawn in a world that never truly rests. In the Congo, where every rustling leaf conceals a predator and every shadow could mask a threat, the chimpanzee stands not merely as another inhabitant of the jungle, but as one of its most formidable strategists. Their wars are not waged with blind fury, but with calculated precision. Their hunts not acts of desperation, but displays of collective genius. They are, without doubt, among the jungle's deadliest minds. And so the nightmare in the canopy continues, an endless cycle of patrols, ambushes, and bloody triumphs. Beneath the emerald shroud of the Congo, these warriors of the treetops remind the world that intelligence, unity, and ruthless determination are as powerful as tooth and claw. In their dark eyes burns the fire of survival, ancient, undiminished, and utterly unrelenting. Beneath the vaulted canopy of the Congo, where shafts of light scatter like liquid gold and vines drape the forest like ancient curtains, the eyes of the wary are drawn instinctively to the beasts with claws and teeth. Rightfully so. The jungle's predators are masterful hunters, some as silent as mist, others as explosive as thunder. But while the animals wear their menace in plain sight, fangs, talons, stealth, there is another quieter menace here, one that roots itself deep in the soil and sways innocently in the humid breeze. In this green cathedral, danger does not always slither or pounce. Sometimes it grows patiently, disguised in blossoms of beguiling beauty and cloaked in the perfect camouflage of leaves. For the untrained wanderer, the jungle is a minefield of botanical deception, where even the sweetest fruit can be a silent assassin. It is one of nature's most ironic jokes, really. Here, in a land so lush that every inch bursts with life, some of the most dangerous killers are rooted to the spot, content to let the foolish or the hungry come to them. Toxic plants in the Congo are not a minor concern. They are an omnipresent threat, as much a part of the predator-prey equation as the leopard's ambush or the crocodile's ambuscade. Take, for example, the bright, almost jubilant berries of the strychnine tree. Their cheerful hue suggests bounty, but beneath that innocent surface lies one of the most notorious poisons known to humankind. A few seeds crushed and consumed is all it takes for convulsions to seize the body. A macabre dance orchestrated by toxic alkaloids that wage war on the nervous system. Then there is the deceptively charming manchineel tree, known elsewhere as the tree of death, but no less lethal in the Congo's shadowy corners. Its glossy leaves glisten as though kissed by morning dew, yet the droplets are a cocktail of corrosive sap that can blister skin and blind eyes. The fruit, misleadingly sweet in appearance, hides toxins so potent that even rainfall dripping from its branches can carry a sting. Beneath its canopy, not even shelter is safe. Lightning storms, usually welcomed by the desperate traveler, turn fatal when they drive people beneath the manchineel's tempting shade, only for the water to become a poison delivered by the sky itself. Camouflage is not reserved for predators alone. Plants too have perfected the art of deception. Some wear mimicry like armor, masquerading as harmless relatives to lure in their victims. A simple leaf, unremarkable in its shape, may conceal a deadly secret. The spurge family, for instance, boasts members that exude a milky sap so acrid it burns flesh on contact. The sap is a chemical weapon, oozing forth to punish any who dare to meddle with its stems or leaves. For animals unfamiliar with its ruse, a single bite spells agony. For humans, it turns into a blinding ordeal, and should the sap find its way into the eyes, blindness is all but guaranteed. Yet perhaps most sinister of all are the natural traps disguised as safe passageways. The Congo is riddled with pits softened by decaying vegetation, slick moss-covered stones that send the careless sprawling, and tanglefoot vines with hooks as sharp as fishhooks. These snaring plants and deceptive terrains collaborate in the quiet ballet of the jungle, turning a simple stroll into a hazardous expedition. What looks like a mossy log may in fact be a camouflaged snare of thorns, eager to clutch at ankles and drag them into the fetid embrace of the swamp. For the indigenous peoples of the Congo, survival is an art learned not through books or classrooms, but through generations of observation, trial, and sometimes tragic error. Their knowledge of the botanical dangers around them is encyclopedic, carved into memory by the sharp edge of necessity. They know, for example, that the bright red sap of the sandbox tree must never touch bare skin, for it can inflame the flesh into painful sores. They recognize the subtle cues of poisoned fruit, from the slick sheen of an overripe berry to the telltale curl of a leaf that signals hidden venom within. These forest guardians have not merely learned to avoid the jungle's poisons, they have learned to harness them. With remarkable ingenuity, they distill toxins from select plants to tip their hunting arrows, transforming defensive chemicals into offensive weapons. The sap of the upas tree, when properly prepared, becomes a paralyzing agent that drops prey swiftly and cleanly. Such knowledge is passed through rituals and whispered instruction, safeguarded as jealously as any heirloom, for it is the difference between life and death in a world that offers no second chances. Yet their wisdom does not stop at weaponry. The forest healers, the shamans and herbalists, wield their understanding of plants like a shield against nature's hidden daggers. They brew antidotes from bark and leaves, craft poultices to draw out toxins, and administer decoctions that counteract venom's creeping advance. A leaf that is poison in one form may, when crushed and diluted, become a balm. A sap that blisters skin can, when expertly processed, soothe fever. Such is the paradox of the Congo's flora. Every threat conceals a potential cure, every peril a hidden promise. Navigating this labyrinth of life and death demands constant vigilance, a ceaseless dialogue between human and jungle. Travelers learn to read the forest's moods as one might read the shifting clouds of an approaching storm. A sudden hush in the insect chorus may signal a nearby predator, but a path littered with the half-chewed remains of certain leaves hints at plants toxic enough to deter even the hungriest herbivores. Footprints stained dark by sap or waterlogged trails marked by unnatural hues in the foliage warn of unseen perils underfoot. And so, as the sun dips below the horizon and the jungle begins its nightly transformation, the plants settle into their quiet vigil. They do not hunt with fang or claw, nor do they stalk their victims beneath the cover of darkness. Instead, they wait with patient lethality, their traps set not in haste but in the certainty that sooner or later, something hungry, tired, or desperate will stumble into their embrace. In this green maze, where life and death grow side by side, the jungle's silent killers remind all who walk beneath their boughs that beauty is no guarantee of safety. For those who survive, there is reverence mixed with fear, an understanding that the jungle is not cruel, merely impartial. It offers no malice, only the pure logic of survival, written in the language of toxins and thorns. And for those wise enough to listen, the plants of the Congo sing a song both dangerous and wondrous, a melody of life tempered by the ever-present possibility of death.